morning, boys. Welcome to class 9. Today is the first class of class 9, and I will start today's class with the very first chapter from your Beehive book. Now, the very first chapter of class 9 is The Fun They Had from the Beehive book, and it is written by a very famous, prolific science fiction writer, Isaac Asimov. Now, if you know something about Isaac Asimov, it will be very good. But before dealing with the story, let me introduce the writer. Isaac Asimov was a scientist, was an American scientist, and his writings basically deal with the theme of science. This story, The Fun They Had, this story is also a science fiction. Now, before we start the text, you need to understand what is a science fiction. It is a fiction that dwells, that deals, that focuses the theme on scientific experiments and scientific details. Now, in this story can be called as a story of future or a futuristic story. Why am I saying that? Because in this story, it focuses the theme of education in the future time. This is 2021, and this story presents the time 2157. This is a year, and the story is presented against the background of this year. And the writer very beautifully, very effectively presents how the education system will be in this year. This is the background of the story. Now, in this story, we have two main characters. One is Margie, and the other one is Tommy. Margie is an 11 years old girl, whereas Tommy is 13 years old. Now, I will go into the story. I will go deep into the story. Please follow it properly. The fun they had. Whenever I say the fun they had, the very question arises is, who are they? As we will read the story, we will come deep into that. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17 May 2157, she wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." So the very beginning of the story takes us to the time that is the year 2157. And the story is presented in a diary format. Means the story has been excerpted from a diary. That is, in this year, on the date 17th May, Margie wrote that today Tommy had found a real book. Why the word real book is there? Because Margie and Tommy, living in the year 2157, they are not accustomed with the real book of paper. Rather, they are accustomed with e-books and a different way of teaching and learning. I will come to that as we will proceed in the story. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said, when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. So this was a book, a real book, and Margie immediately recollected what was said to her by her grandfather. Her grandfather said, in the previous era, there was a time when all the things were printed on paper. Unlike this time when the students, they read from e-books. That is why the term real book is important. That is why the term real book is important. I will come to explaining these things afterwards. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly. They means Margie and Tommy. They went on flipping through the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, because it was an old book. It was of the way they were supposed to on a screen, and then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it it had when they read it the first time. So when they were reading the book, they were very surprised. Both Margie and Tommy, they were very surprised. What was the reason of their surprise? They were surprised because they were not accustomed to read from a real book, but they were accustomed to read from e-books. Now, in an e-book, a student reads an e-book on screen. So the word keeps on appearing and the word keeps on scrolling. But here, in a real book, what happens is that what you read on this page, and if you go to the other page, obviously and guaranteedly, the words will be same. And this makes them utterly surprised. Gee, said Tommy, what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it is good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Now, having read the book, the very first impression of Tommy is that he is disgusted. He does not like the book. See the expression, "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste." Tommy did not like it because Tommy instantly compares this old book with his books, that those are e-books. And as we all know, on a television screen, on a computer machine, you can install, you can store a lot of books. A huge number of books can be stored in that machine. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it is good for plenty more. Obviously, a computer machine can store a huge number of books, needless to say. Same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and had not seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. Margie also said, yes, she also feels this real book very, very disgusting. Why disgusting? Please remember, students, because they are not habituated. They are not habituated to read from real books. Rather, they are habituated to read from e-books. So obviously, they would find a real book very, very boring and disgusting. That is why. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house." He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." The book was found in Tommy's house from the attic. Attic is a small room near the roof where all unnecessary things are generally stored. That is called attic. And from that room, Tommy had got this book. What is it about? School. Margie was scornful. School? What is there to write about school? I hate school. Now, when the book was found, the very question Margie asks, that is, what the book is about. What is the theme of the book? To this, Tommy replies, the book is about school. And Margie was very, very hateful. She did not like school. The way she replied, just see the line, please note the line, boys. Margie was scornful. School. What is there to write about school? I hate school. The way Margie replies about school, it clearly indicates she does not like school. She has developed a strong detest for her school. Now, it should be noted, as the story will unfold, we will come to know Margie's school is not the school which was referred in the book. Both were different kinds of school. So one characteristic of Margie would be she hates her school. Why she hates her school? Because her school is not the same kind of school as it was prevalent in the previous era. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. Why Margie hates school? First of all, Margie did not like the way of schooling. Secondly, she had been doing horribly. She had been performing horribly, disastrously in geography, where her mechanical teacher, please underline the word mechanical teacher. This is a very important word, mechanical teacher. Mechanical teacher. Why this is important? This is not a teacher of blood and flesh. Please understand, students, by the term mechanical teacher, we, the author here, the author means to refer a teacher which is a machine, a computer. Margie uses to study in front of a computer, and that computer is a teacher. That computer teaches every single lesson from its scheme, and it is in that fashion the computer has been programmed. That is why the term mechanical teacher is very important. You please understand, this is not a teacher of blood and flesh. This is not a human being, but rather this is a computer which teaches the students. So the very first thing, when a computer teaches the students, the student will miss, that is the love, the care, the sympathy and the human behavior of a teacher. It would be very, very mechanical. The way of teaching would be very, very mechanical. Now, in this regard, I will introduce Margie's way of schooling. Now, in previous era, please remember the boys, that this is in the year 2157. The story depicts a time that is 2157. In previous era, this is the time when Margie is living. In previous era, the schooling as it is now. Students come to school, teachers come to school, students gather in a class, the teacher, they deliver the lecture, they teach, they explain, they take tests, all the things. But in this time, as it has been depicted in the story, the schooling, the way of schooling is completely different. Why it is completely different? Because here, Margie is not supposed to go to any other building, but rather the school is at her house only. It is just a room beside her bedroom, and there Margie goes and sits in front of a computer, and the computer teaches Margie. This is the concept of school in Margie. Margie thinks that is a school, and that is a school actually. So obviously, Margie hates the school. So whenever Margie knows that the book is about school, Margie instantly relates her way of schooling to the previous way of schooling. This we must understand. He was a round little man with a red vest and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. This is being said about the county inspector. Who is it? He is a man who is in charge of repairing, fixing the problems that occurs in a mechanical teacher. In simple words, he is a man who would repair the computer. And please remember, the computer is a teacher of Margie. He smiled. This is why he was recollecting. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. Then took the teacher apart. Margie had hoped that he would not know how to put it together again. Please underline this line, boys. This line is very significant. This line is very indicative. When her mechanical teacher was taken to the county county inspector who is responsible for repairing that teacher. Margie hoped maybe the teacher would take her, maybe the county inspector would take her mechanical teacher away or would not be able to fix the things. What would happen if the county inspector is unable to fix the things? Obviously, her mechanical teacher would not be in a position to teach. And this is the desire of Margie. Please understand. Because Margie does not like her teacher. She does not like the way of schooling. She is disgusted with that. But he knew how all right, and after an hour or so, there was it again. And the mechanical teacher was successfully repaired and the county inspector put it properly. There it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. It's typically, you can relate it with a computer. Just as on a computer screen, you can see the question, you can see the lessons, you can see the visuals. It is in the same fashion Margie was taught by her mechanical teacher. That wasn't on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was a slot where she had to put homework and test papers. When it comes to explaining and asking questions, these things were not disliked by Margie. But the thing Margie disliked most was the part where Margie is supposed to put her homework, and the homework would be mechanically, automatically evaluated by the machine, by the mechanical teacher. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old. When Margie was 6 years old, she was taught how to write the answers and a typical punch code, a typical code you can say. And this was the code by which the computer, the mechanical teacher would evaluate Margie's answer. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted Margie's head. He said to her mother, "It is not the little girl's fault." When the county inspector repaired the machine, he commented to Margie's mother that it was not the fault of Margie. Why it was not the fault of Margie? And what was the fault of Margie? Please remember, boys, please remember, students, Margie had been performing disastrously in the geography section. And that is why she had been scolded by her mother and the machine had been taken to a county inspector. It is not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. What does it mean? Suppose Margie was reading in class 7 and the geography sector was geared a little quick. It means the geography sector has gone a little ahead of Margie's level. If I ask a class 9, the question from a class 9 to a student of class 7, would that student be able to answer? Obviously not. He is not supposed to answer because he is reading in class 7. He is not supposed to answer from the theme of a class 9. That's why. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average of 10-year level. The county inspector commented that he had slowed down the speed so that the mechanical teacher could match the level of Margie. And Margie could not fail, Margie could not have problem in solving, in understanding the text. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory, and he patted Margie's head again. This was typical behavior of the county inspector. He patted Margie's head affectionately and he said the overall progress was quite satisfactory. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. Again, the same thing is here. Margie didn't like it. She hoped that maybe her mechanical teacher would be taken by the county inspector. Why did she hope that? Because they had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. So Margie's hope was instigated from the instance of Tommy. Once Tommy's mechanical teacher, the history sector of that teacher had been erased. So the mechanical teacher was taken by the county inspector for nearly a month. This is why Margie hoped that. I hope all of you can get it. And please underline the lines which I am referring, because these lines would help you in making your own answers. Now, we will proceed the story. So, she said to Tommy, now it comes to the real world. This was Margie recollecting. Why would anyone write about school? And that is why the reason Margie was very much skeptical, Margie was very much contemptuous about her school. And that is why she asks Tommy, why would someone write about school? And what is there to write about school? Because Margie's concept of school was completely different from the present concept of school. Please note down, boys, Margie is living in the year 2157, and it is in the time when Margie was accustomed to e-learning. And the book deals about the previous era in which the concept of school was altogether different from the concept prevalent in the year 2157. I hope I am able to make you understand. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? Why would anyone write about school? That is why she was very, very contemptuous. So, let me call it a day. I will proceed further in the next video, and I will start from paragraph number 6 from the same chapter. I hope you have understood. Thank you, boys. Take care.